Monthly partner in brief of ongoing progress work on the shutdown of Lagos infrastructure and
bring all the traffic into this direction.
We are going to work to ensure that it is better during the traffic. If we don't support the people now, the road will collapse.
Good day and welcome to this week's episode of your program, Infrastructure Weekly. I am Abosede Omowi. On the program this week, we will take you around infrastructure projects across the country and also the strategies being adopted by the federal government to bridge the nation's infrastructure deficit. We'll be back after this time out. Stay tuned.
Coming together of opportunities. This is what
Infrastructure is the backbone of development, which explains the Buhari government's effort at bridging the facility gap. Infrastructure Weekly is a television package designed to bring you latest information on hundreds of development projects going on in various sectors all over the nation.
there is no state in Nigeria today where you will not see our contractors busy at work.
Power generation, rural electrification, road rehabilitations, national housing scheme, construction of roads and rail lines across the country, you name it.
We are now able to produce 7,000 megawatt of power. That is no longer debatable.
Infrastructure Weekly is Nigerians working together for a better Nigeria. So be better informed to take better informed decisions. Watch Infrastructure Weekly, showing on Channels Television Thursdays 2:30 p.m., NTA Network Wednesdays 5 p.m., and Core TV News Fridays at 8 p.m. Infrastructure Weekly, making development known.
Thanks so much for staying tuned. The federal government says it intends to continue to work to develop the southeast and south-south geopolitical regions of the country after years of neglect by previous administrations that has led to the abandonment of several priority projects in the regions. Minister of Information, Culture and Tourism, Lai Mohammed, disclosed this while inspecting infrastructure projects within the regions. He added that the project will be game changers in the economic development and empowerment of the people of those regions. Let's take a listen.
President Muhammadu Buhari's administration has decided to concentrate on the completion of abandoned projects rather than awarding and introducing new ones. The Minister of Information, Culture and Tourism, Lai Mohammed, who disclosed this in Eleme in Rivers State while on an inspection of the Enugu-Port Harcourt Road Rehabilitation and Reconstruction Project, explains that the administration believes in continuity in governance. The minister inspected the 4 sections of the road project being handled by different contractors from Enugu to Lokmanta, from Lokmanta to Umuahia, Umuahia to Aba, and Aba to Eleme in Rivers State.
Even though this contract was awarded in 2014, serious work could not commence until 2016 because between then and 2016, a paltry 100 million naira was made available as a mobilization fee.
The contract was awarded in the year 2014 and being concurrently divided into 4 sections, but was unable to fully take off due to funding constraints. However, contractors on site commended the present administration's commitment to sufficiently funding the project.
Our cements are coming in bulk, so we don't keep it for too long in the dry season. In the rainy season, that's why you can't see them here. So the contractor has no reason whatsoever not to come on full force from October, November. We are believing God that rain could stop as early as October this year from the weather report. This is the asphalt plant, 400 tons capacity.
That's kilometer 120 plus 500. And that is where the job of Arab contractors starts. That's their own 0 point. From that point, Arab will take over to reconstruct this dual carriageway up to Aba. This place is kilometer 120, 500, as I said earlier. And the end of Arab own is 176, 600, giving us a total distance of 56.1 kilometers. That's the one Arab is working. Also, like the other contractors, their own percentage progress is about 24%. And what we did down, they've actually done up to about 30 kilometers of pavement. And what is weighing their progress now is the trailer park they have not started. Because of that trailer park at Aba end, which they have not started because though we are trying to clear the problems of that area.
This section 4 is being handled by Masters CCECC Nigeria Limited. It is 41.4 kilometers long. And although the project, some part of it about its commencement when it was awarded, but by now we achieved 1 kilometer full construction, and then we have achieved about 4 kilometer sand fill, which we obtained by dredging. So the kilometer zero, the beginning of the project starts just on this bridge, and it ends at the Eleme Junction.
The rehabilitation of the Enugu-Port Harcourt dual carriageway has the full complement of Nigerians on the job and has helped create jobs and boosted the local economy of the people.
Additional 2 kilometers. Like I was telling you, sir, the only work we can do in the rain is covered work, and that's what they are doing right here. And there is full complement of Nigerians on this job. The executive order on local content prescribes that there should be a reasonable number of Nigerian professionals working on this project. We are on our own part enforcing it effectively. So the young man who came greeting you right here is a Nigerian surveyor, and they are gainfully employed. Before now they were doing nothing. Go throughout the length of this road, little businesses have struggled. You can imagine a contract of 32 billion. It's a big industry.
I believe it is important that we're here to see the sheer amount of economy that is being created by this administration. Like the Mr. Yokomi said, this is 32 billion naira project. And you can imagine the kind of economy is creating. Not just are we employing Nigerians, professionals, engineers, surveyors, even the consultants that I met now is a Nigerian.
Part of the minister's nationwide media tour of federal government's infrastructure project was a visit to the ongoing work at the second Niger Bridge, where he expressed satisfaction with the pace of work along this axis. He reiterates that funding will not be a problem.
If you're not here, you cannot see the enormity of the work going on. It's very convenient for naysayers to try and mislead people that nothing is being done on the second Niger Bridge. But from what you have all seen today, clearly work is going on every minute on the second Niger Bridge. I'm glad you are all here. I'm glad that you appreciate that these are not equipments that could be moved over in 2 days or 3 days. And I'm happy that you see them, full blast working. The complexity of this project is such that only the best can handle it. And I'm glad that we have a very competent contractor and in this project.
Currently, the phase 4 of the early bridge works is ongoing and about 70.69% completion, with phases 1 to 3 completed, and the entire project is expected to be completed in 2 years.
Out of the 615 piles that is designed for the bridge, we have done 310 piles driven into this earth. The contractor has, as I'll show you later, they have cleared the sites to a length of about 2-point-something kilometers. They watered the whole, because here is like a creek, and then applied what we call geotextiles.
The minister says the completion of the second Niger Bridge and the Enugu-Port Harcourt dual carriageway will change the entire socio-economic landscape of the southeast and south-south regions. It is expected that these projects will immensely reduce the strains on the existing Niger Bridge, improve traffic inflow, health and security, create opportunities for host communities, as well as improve on the socio-economic activities of the nation, among others.
The federal government has continued its drive towards bridging the nation's infrastructure gap by approving more contracts for several parts of the country. The government says this will help in ensuring that more Nigerians return to gainful employment through engagement in some of the projects as professionals, laborers, and other associated work.
If you remember, this time last week I was actually in Onitsha and Asaba inspecting the second Niger Bridge. Today, the federal government, the Federal Health Council, has now approved the award of the link road. The bridge itself is just 1.95 meters, but the link road is about 11.9 kilometers. And this contract was awarded, of course, to Julius Berger for the sum of 206 billion naira.
The program is still Infrastructure Weekly. For comment, inquiries and feedback, you can get in touch with us on Twitter at infra_weekly and on Facebook at facebook.com/Infrastructure Weekly. Now to the power sector. The federal government has laid out the current state of the power sector and what it intends to do to take it to the next level. Minister of Power, Works and Housing Babatunde Fashola spoke on the state of the sector at a special briefing focusing on the sector in Abuja. Let's take a listen.
President Muhammadu Buhari understands that the provision or absence of electricity infrastructure in the country has a lot to do with the psychology and progress of the people. In fact, his determination to revive the nation's infrastructure flows from his frustration before assuming office, that despite the enormous oil revenue under the previous PDP administrations, that Nigerians were denied the comfort of utilizing good power supply.
The generation of power has improved from approximately 4,000 megawatts in 2015 to approximately 7,000 megawatts in 2018, averaging an increase of about 1,000 megawatts per annum, and we expect to add 459 megawatts in Azura, 259 megawatts in Kaduna, 240 megawatts in Afam, 40 megawatts in Kashimbila, which is almost a total of 954 megawatts this year.
In the power sector, the government says there is more than 2,000 megawatts of additional power generation capacity. Some are via publicly owned plants, including Afam Fast Power 240 megawatts, while others are through private sector investments supported by the federal government, which includes Azura Power 450 megawatts. The federal government launched a 701 billion naira intervention fund under the Payment Assurance Program, aimed at supporting power generation companies to meet their payment obligations to gas and equipment suppliers, banks and other partners.
This will give an average annual increase of about 1,062 megawatts per annum in transmission capacity. TCN currently has about 90 transmission projects in various stages of construction, and many of them are scheduled to be completed this year. So we can transport what the GENCO generate, and there is a transmission expansion plan from 2018 to 2028, which government is committed to implement. With regards to distribution, this has also improved from 2,690 megawatts approximately in 2015 to a peak distribution of 5,222 megawatts in 2018, averaging an increase of about 844 megawatts per annum, because the DISCOs have also done some work.
There is transmission expansion and rehabilitation program, which has resulted in a 50% expansion in grid capacity since 2015, from 5,000 megawatts to 7,125 megawatts as at December 2017. Although this administration's effort at boosting electricity supply has recorded successes, the distribution companies must step up their capacity, meter all Nigerian homes and businesses, and distribute the excess 2,000 megawatts to consumers.
As facilitator of business and enabler of private sector, government has done the following. First, through the Central Bank of Nigeria, government made available the sum of 213 billion naira to the power sector at concessionary interest rate below market rate to GENCOs and DISCOs. Regrettably, because of the source of funds, conditions such as the opening of letter of credit which were attached to secure performance of the purpose for which the money was meant, some DISCOs have not taken the money and instead have gone to court, thereby frustrating full disbursement to other members of the value chain.
The Buhari-led federal government also launched the Distribution Expansion Program, which was approved by the Federal Executive Council in February 2018, to deliver 2,000 megawatts of unused power capacity to consumers in need. Implementation of the DEP has commenced with the issuance in May 2018 of a call for tenders for the procurement of distribution substations and electrical equipment.
In order to assist in the evacuation of 2,000 megawatts, the deficit between what the GENCOs can produce and what the DISCOs can produce, the government asked the DISCOs to submit their transformer and equipment requirements. As 40% shareholder, government has committed to invest 72 billion naira for procurement of equipment and installation to help get to 2,000 megawatts to consumers.
Just recently, the power generation level rose to an unprecedented 7,000 megawatts, and there are indications that with the resuscitation of the Mambila power project and others in the country, Nigeria will continue to witness an incremental rise in power transmission and distribution. This administration is presently focused on reviving power infrastructure.
The regulations require DISCOs to contract with their MAPs in order to promote a harmonious relationship and reduce friction and disputes.
The power sector, since privatization in 2013, had suffered a lot of setbacks. But with various interventions by the federal government, transmission and generation companies, the sector is recording increase in power capacities. While the Nigerian Electricity Regulatory Commission is ensuring that DISCOs make meters available to all Nigerians, the impact is being felt as the amount of power being distributed is now currently steady at around 5,000 megawatts and generation now put at 7,000 megawatts higher than ever recorded.
We will be back after this timeout to take a closer look at the moves by the federal government to recapitalize the Federal Mortgage Bank of Nigeria for the challenges of bridging the nation's housing deficit. Join us after this break.
London, New York or Lagos, business or holiday, home or office. You can now carry out your tax transactions from anywhere in the world. You can now file all your tax returns, pay online, get a receipt and even process your tax clearance certificate from anywhere in the world online and in real time. All you need to do is log on to www.firs.gov.ng and click on e-services and be introduced to the world of innovation, convenience and transparency from the FIRS. You can also pay stamp duty as you register a new company with the CAC or for other transactions that require stamp duty payment online. You can also file your withholding tax returns and determine the withholding tax deducted from you is in government coffers so that you can get your receipt within 45 days as long as the deduction has been remitted. Yes, all of this and more online at www.firs.gov.ng/e-services. FIRS, making tax administration as easy as ABC. Please note that all FIRS services are free of charge. This message is from the Federal Inland Revenue Service. It pays to pay your tax.
To the housing sector now. Over the past few weeks, we have focused on the National Housing Program and its impact on the nation's housing sector and on employment and empowerment of local communities all over the country. With the program now up and running, attention is now shifting to putting in place an acceptable mortgage program to ensure that Nigerians are able to access the program without let or hindrance. Minister of Power, Works and Housing, Babatunde Fashola, who was speaking at a real estate roundtable in Abuja, said the federal government intends to restructure the Federal Mortgage Bank of Nigeria by recapitalizing it and streamlining its operations to respond to present-day realities.
Speaking on the theme, Innovative Housing Financing Model as a catalyst for home ownership during a roundtable event, Minister of Power, Works and Housing, Babatunde Fashola, says recapitalization of the Federal Mortgage Bank will boost housing development nationwide. This would also create more opportunities for Nigerians earning a living to own a home and tackle the country's housing deficit.
When we finish the pilot, our intention is that if people accept it, we would have evolved an acceptable Nigerian house. We would also hopefully then have evolved an affordable Nigerian house. with reasonable costs. But again, the house becomes unaffordable if you have to do cash and carry. People buy houses over a period of their lifetime, not overnight.
We believe that all of us must not lose sight of the social aspect of housing as well. And the fact that as we go on, we cannot afford to leave behind millions of Nigerians who are not so enabled in terms of funding to be able to pay the exorbitant price for the houses that are available to them.
Nigerians must not allow problems of deficit to define the nation. Therefore, homeowners and landlords need to be considerate, as most workers who earn salaries regularly and can even afford to pay rent do not receive their salaries in advance, but in arrears. The President Muhammadu Buhari National Housing Program will reduce the number of those who rent houses and increase owners.
In the northern part of the country, we're building those 1, 2, and 3 bedroom houses in bungalow types with courtyards at the back to respond to the cultural needs of that part of the country. In the southern part, in places like Akwa Ibom, Enugu, and we're doing a mix of some bungalows and blocks of 16 apartments, 4 on each floor. As I said, the operative word is pilot. Pilot because we are introducing a new product to the market, and we want to be sure that the off-takers will accept it.
Understanding the plight of Nigerians under the bracket of low-income earners, the Minister of Power, Works and Housing, Babatunde Fashola, again commences his advocacy for payment of rent in arrears as against what is obtainable in the country.
Imagine what is possible if we all resolve through Redan, NIES, and everybody that from tomorrow, all landlords agree by themselves to even take, I don't even say take it, 1 month's rent in advance. We reduce the pressure by 12 months. In advance, so it will be lovely if it is in arrears when they get paid. Do you imagine the release in this economy?
He advocates that people should build houses, make it affordable and acceptable as an action plan to end issues of deficit.
But this critical mass, this is what we think they want. This is our cost. Frank, can you build one at this cost? If you build it, I will buy it as government. What will I do with it and how will I buy it? Because I know that he wants a house. He contributes to the National Housing Fund. He's entitled, therefore, to apply for a mortgage loan.
Skills acquisition should not exist in isolation. Economic programs, including construction of houses, which provides employment opportunities for many Nigerians, has to be available as a backup. This is what President Muhammadu Buhari is doing with the current government national housing program ongoing in 34 states of the Federation.
The construction work that is going on has increased the demand for building materials, limestone, sand, laterite, and all of that. Those materials are not in the city. They are in the rural area. So there's a lot of activity going on there. And if those things continue to be sustained and people earn an income while they are close to their, they seem less likely to want to come. So we're already plugging the dam.
The meeting focuses on making life better for the country's critical mass, the taxi drivers, market women, and women who earn their money daily and are not even sure for making any revenue for that day. Meanwhile, landlords expect advance payments. Stakeholders agree with the minister's recommendations that there should be a landlord-tenant agreement backed up by effective housing laws.
That's That's it on this week's episode of the program. Join us again next week for another bumper package. Until then, pay your tax and continue to protect and take ownership of all public utilities around you. I am Abosade Omowi. Let's continue the conversation on the social media handles showing on the screen. Bye for now.